If you're thinking about living in Southwest Florida, or you already do, there's one thing we need to talk about, and that's hurricane season. Not in a scary, sensationalized way, but in a real, local, practical way. This way, you know exactly how to prepare and what to expect. Because here's the truth. Hurricane season in Southwest Florida is very manageable when you know what you're doing, but it can feel very overwhelming when you don't. So today I'm walking you through how locals actually prepare, what you really need and what you don't, and how to feel confident when going into hurricane season. Hey, I'm Jessica Gatewood. I'm a locally born and raised Southwest Florida real estate expert. And if you are thinking about making a move here, or you're already here and looking for a little guidance on what to expect during this large portion of our year, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can schedule a call with me in the link in the description below. That takes you directly to my calendar. And I am happy to discuss this and any other questions you may have about living in Southwest Florida. Okay, let's get into it. Hurricane season runs from June 1st through November 30th. But let me really set the tone here. We're not facing storms all of those months. Just because it's season does not mean we have hurricanes every month of that season. Most of the season, it's just a typical hot and humid summer, with most of the actual hurricane and tropical storm activity picks up in August and will continue through October-ish when the water is the hottest. So living here my whole life, I can tell you that preparation is what really makes the difference. You don't want to be the one that's out there when we get notice that there's a hurricane that may be coming our way and you have to get gas or toilet paper or bread or water, The first thing locals do is prepare early, where it's currently, when I'm recording this video, it's getting ready to be May 1st. So that's when you got to start, hit an extra case of water in your order next week, and then hit an extra case of toilet paper in your order next week. Things like that really just help you get ahead of the game. So it's there if we do get notice that, hey, there's a storm that may be coming our way, and then you're not that person that's at the grocery store at Publix or Walmart or Sam's, that week trying to scrounge up what may be left. You get to just kind of go about your daily life, which is the way you want to do it. So instead of, like I said, being in the middle of the chaos when the storm's on the way, you want to have your little kit ready. So in your kit, you need things like bottled water, batteries, flashlights, non-perishable foods, portable phone chargers, and a basic first aid kit. You don't need to go overboard. I'm sure that you saw the mass hysteria, or you see it on the TV every time there's a storm coming towards Florida. There's no bread, there's no water, there's no toilet paper, there's no paper. We don't need to go that crazy, but you need to be able to get through a couple days without power. I have created a hurricane preparedness checklist so that you can download that and have it ready for whenever you make your move here. That will be available to you in the description below. Just click that link and the download will be there for you. So the next big thing that you need for hurricane season in Florida is to understand your home. The building codes have changed over the years, and so not all homes are required to or were required to have storm protection if they were built prior to a certain year. So some of those homes may still not have storm protection, and the sellers are not required to make it available to you. So it's important to know whether the home has shutters or it has impact resistant windows. And then obviously I always say obviously, but I've found that a lot of things that are obvious to me as a person that was born and raised in Florida are not obvious to y'all. So please don't take my obviously too seriously. But if you have been a member or a subscriber to my channel, you should know. And if you don't know, you need to check out my videos on flood zones explained. Every home on every street could be in a different flood zone. So it's important to know what flood zone you're in, and that will relate to your probability of flooding during a storm. Where this comes in prior to you moving to Southwest Florida is that these items are important for your insurance rates and your insurability. If you're in a flood zone, that flood zone will directly affect your flood insurance rate. And then if you have storm protection, if you have the added storm protection like the impact windows and doors or the shutters, or you have impact rated garage doors, and then there's new codes for the roofs now that have added nails that give you some discounts on insurance. And so there are a lot of factors that go into a home that, before you're buying it, before you're even living here, you need to pay attention to as far as hurricane preparedness goes, because you do get insurance discounts for a lot of those items also. So if you're even thinking of buying in Southwest Florida and you use me as an agent, this is exactly the stuff that I make sure you know about before you get to the closing table. While I keep saying obviously, I do know that a lot of this stuff isn't obvious. So I do endeavor to make everything fully understood before you get to the closing table, like I said. That said, if you'd like help in this process, anywhere from, planning your where to live or to get, you're ready to buy and you're coming next week, I would love to have the opportunity to help you with that process. The link to my calendar is in the description below, or you can shoot me a text and email, whatever works best for you. So the next thing to talk about is evacuation zones. And honestly, I've learned that there is a little bit of panic around evacuation zones. So not everyone has to evacuate. Evacuation zones are based on your relation to coastal Florida and your elevation. So if you're further inland or in a higher elevation spot of the state, then you're likely not in one of those evacuation zones that's going to be mandatory evacuation. So a little fun fact is that locals don't just leave town as soon as a storm is named and may be heading our way. Now, I do think that perspective has shifted a lot since we here, especially in Southwest Florida, had the disastrous Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago. But still, we pay attention to the official guidance, we track the storm, and then we make decisions based on the real information. And I will die on the hill that I'd rather live in Florida where a hurricane, you know that a hurricane is coming for you. Again, I say that we don't just up and leave, but we have the opportunity to up and leave if we get to plan and prepare in advance for hurricanes. So I would take it every day of the week over any of the other options that are out there. So another question is, do you board your house up every year? Do you put your shutters up right at the start of hurricane season and leave them up all season? Absolutely not. Don't do this. If you have a fire in your home, you can't get out. So no, we don't want to put our shutters up. In fact, the shutters are like the last thing that you're doing when there's a storm named. It's like, put them up if we know it's coming for us. And the best thing about living in Southwest Florida is that when that time comes, you are going to have complete strangers offering to help you with this task if you can't get it done. The community really comes together in times like these, in lots of other times, but you really get to see the community that is Southwest Florida, and it's a beautiful thing. If you're the person that is leaving town for the summer and you have a home here, put your shutters up. Yes, leave them up from June to October. As long as nobody is living in the home, then you can put your shutters up so they don't have to worry about somebody coming to do it, coordinating somebody to come do it if a storm's coming this way. But if there's someone living in the home, absolutely do not put your shutters up and leave them up year round. You are just asking for, it makes me cringe every time I see it. On to power outages, which is the next biggest worry, I suppose. Depending on the storm, yes, you can, and honestly, your neighborhood, you can lose power temporarily. It depends. If you have overhead power, you're likely going to lose it. I mean, you can lose it in a rainstorm here. So, but it's the good thing about it is that our power companies are really quickly, our power comes back on fairly quickly in event of any power outages. Now, if you're one that is like, I don't want to lose all my groceries, or I stockpile meat, or you have options where you can buy a generator and get the panel ready, get an electrician out to get your panel, get a plug installed to where you can plug a generator in a refrigerator and run your portable AC or stuff like that. Or you can do a whole home generator that is typically run on propane here. We don't really have natural gas. So you get a propane tank, and then you can get a whole home generator installed so that as soon as the power goes off, the generator comes on and you never are the wiser. You never know, really. So there's so many options. What may surprise you is that after the storm, things typically come back to normal faster than most people expect. Cleanup crews are ready, the power companies are on standby, and then the community really rallies together in a beautiful way. I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize until you're actually living or you experience it. So now I've already touched on it a little bit, but I need to circle back on insurance, because obviously insurance plays a huge factor in hurricane season in Southwest Florida. It's really important to know where you stand and what is protected and what's, because it's not just a given that you have all of the hurricane protections because you live in Florida. Like if you have a pool cage, that's a rider that you have to get, that it's not automatically covered in your homeowner's insurance. So if you want your pool cage covered in an event of a hurricane, then you need to make sure you have that specifically written on as like an addendum, a rider to your policy. Things like that are so important and easily forgotten or missed or assumed that they're included. So that's why it's really important to have a professional on your side guiding you through this whole process. There's so much more to it than just the home, and there's so much that you can't figure out on your own. You don't know what you don't know. So if this is you and you're drowning in a sea of information, I would love to be of service to you. Please reach out to me. Again, shoot me an email or a text or grab a on my calendar in the link below, and we can chat through any and all questions you may have. Before you go, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out weekly content just like this, where, answering questions about what you can expect when you make that move to Southwest Florida. At the end of the day, hurricane season is just another part of living in Southwest Florida. It should definitely not be the part that scares you away. Again, I'm Jessica Gatewood, your local real estate expert, and I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next one.